little bit sitting in a cave, but it is early here, but I've had my coffee and I am ready to go. My name is Laura Miller, and I lead the consulting practice at Kobe Marketing. And for anybody that's not familiar with Kobe, we are a loyalty marketing company that really helps our clients grow enterprise value through loyalty. It's something we talk a lot about. It is our mission statement. And within that, we really design and manage end-to-end loyalty programs, everything from strategy, which my team does, customer insights, technology, analytics. We get into creative execution as well. So it's pretty fun. And we work across all different industries. So if it's retail, financial services, travel and hospitality, and we partnered with some of the world's most well-known brands. And we really are trying to turn those like everyday interactions into lasting emotional connections, which I know that's what everybody is here to do as well. So I'm excited to be here and moderate this webinar today.
Thank you so much, Laura. Brilliant. So what we're going to do before our first activity is get a sense of who's here today, and I want to know what's on your minds as well. So it's really important we get to understand this. So we're going to kick off with a few quick polls. So I'm going to start a poll and it will pop up on your screen. So if you could all please get involved with this. So the first question is, what's the first question? So yeah, what's your biggest loyalty challenge right now? So if you click on polls at the top right hand corner, you should see it open and we should start getting some results. Don't know if, can you see the polls, guys?
Yep, I can see it when I click on the polls tab.
Yeah, click on the polls tab and it should start. It should have already started. Can you see it, Laura?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay.
Yep, there's people answering questions.
Fabulous.
We have a tie under measuring ROI and proving value and driving ongoing engagement and retention right now as the top two.
Excellent. Measuring ROI. There isn't a silver bullet to that, right?
No, there is definitely not.
Excellent. Well,
we get that question a lot.
I bet. So let's go to the next one. The next one is where are we? Yeah. What's your biggest challenge right now? We've done that. What is your favorite KPI? So I'm going to start that now. So what is your favorite KPI? What are you measuring towards for success? You can see that in the polls. So enrollment rates, active member rate, redemption rate, repurchase rate, lift and spend, CLV, net promoter score.
Yep, for anyone trying to navigate to it, you just have to scroll down from the first poll that you answered, and it's right there.
Thank you, Laura. Active member rate, that seems to be the highest.
Definitely.
Okay, so poll number 3 is going to be, what's your top priority for the next 6 months? So let me just launch that poll. Bear with me just 1 second. I'm going to start that poll. So again, you just need to scroll down. What's your top priority for the next 6 months? So launching a new program, enhancing personalization and customer experience, building emotional connections with members, improving data analytics and insights, testing and learning from new initiatives. Okay.
Looks like quite a few people are working on launching a new program. Enhancing personalization and customer experience. It's great.
Lots of things to talk about during the loyalty tool swap, which is our next session. Yeah. So it should be interesting. So we've got one last poll, and that one is, what best describes your current loyalty journey? So I'm just going to start that one. Again, you just need to scroll down to the last one. What best describes your current loyalty journey? So just getting started, refreshing an existing program, scaling and optimizing a mature program, exploring options, or testing and measuring a new program. Okay, so there's a couple of mature programs in there. Looks like we've got a bit of a mix of different stages of their loyalty journey. Some of the refreshing. That's perfect, because it means we have a wealth of different experiences to learn from today, which is great. Excellent. So I'm going to end the polls now. Okay, so we're going to go into our first session. And guys, this is what we're calling the loyalty tool swap. Not done this before, so this is all very exciting. So what we're going to do, we're going to make this session as practical and as valuable as possible. And the idea here is quite simple. So we'll all be bringing something to the table. So we really need to use your brains now, guys. And we'd love to hear about the tools and the strategies and the technologies that have worked best for you. And this is your chance to share real world insights, okay? And we'll be able to pick up a few ideas and a few new ideas along the way. So how it's going to work is that we'll start with a quick chat poll. So not a poll that you're in at the moment. If you click on chat at the top and go to general chat, you're going to drop a one-word answer to a question that I'm going to ask in that chat. And then based on your answers, and please get involved. If you don't get involved, there won't be a conversation to have, okay? But based on your answers, we'll then call on a few of you to share more about the answer that you've given. And if you're happy to speak, then obviously let us know in the chat, say you're happy to elaborate. And then that's the point where you put your microphone on and your camera on, or you can just drop comments into the chat and Laura will pick them up and we'll start having a discussion. After that, we'll open it up for something called a rapid fire round of hidden gems. And what we're going to ask you to do is let us know some tools or strategies that you feel more brands should be using or could be using based on your own experiences. So everything that we discuss will be summarized and shared with everyone, okay, after the event. So feel free to note down any great ideas you hear, but just be assured that you'll receive a helpful resource. And this is also being recorded as well. So you can all come back to this at any time. Okay, so let's kick things off. I'm going to ask this question, and please use the general chat to answer the question. So what's one tool or platform or strategy that has improved your loyalty program the most? So we're going to give you a couple of minutes to write into the chat. If you can't see the chat, then let us know by giving us an emoji with the glasses on at the bottom. So I'll ask you again, what's one tool or platform or strategy that has improved your loyalty program the most? If you don't have a loyalty program at the moment, then let us know, say you don't have one. But use the chat. Nobody's put anything in there yet, so I'm no worries that the chat's not visible. It's visible to me. Okay, Faraz, thank you. You don't have one yet. Fine. So this is interesting because it will tell us who's got one, who hasn't. So one tool or platform. I'm sure Becky and Robert and Emma, I'm sure there's something you've used in launching your programs that you feel it has improved, or you could use more to improve it. Okay. So Rob says staff engagement reports and rewards. No tool or platform at the moment. Oh, this is interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
There's going to be a lot of great learning in the webinar session or later, or the panel later. Mm-hmm. Oh, a gamified mobile app.
Digital card extension. Mm-hmm. What do you think of those answers, Laura?
Yeah, I would love to hear more about the digital collectibles and what those are. If Sam has any interest in coming off mute and camera and chatting a little bit with us. Maybe.
Sam, are you happy to do that? Just turn your mic on and your camera on, And then you'll enter into the presentation mode where Laura and I are.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't want to go on camera, you just turn your mic on. And there's a little button at the bottom of the screen that says mic on or off, if you can see that. Just wait to see if she can find her mic.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh, that's interesting. Can't see the buttons at the top or the bottom. I also can't see the buttons. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. That's fine. Let's perhaps you could just write in the comments then, Sam, and maybe we can look at something else while Sam's writing in there.
Yeah. I also love the one that's in here about redemption as a key program element. I don't know if there's any more information when you say as a key program element in terms of, are you adding new redemption options or just focused more on marketing related to getting more people to redeem? So intrigued to know how you're approaching that.
I've also now found that I can make Sam a speaker. So Sam, I've just invited you as a speaker. So you should be able to turn your mic and your camera on now. Hurrah. Excellent, Sam. You're on mute at the moment, Sam. Can you hear us now, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. You're speaking, but we can't hear you. Oh, we can now.
Okay, perfect. So digital collectibles. So we introduced this about 2 seasons ago. I work at Arsenal Football Club, and what we did to try and gamify the match day experience was we allowed supporters who were coming to our match days to pick up these attendance badges. And these attendance badges then contributed towards collecting digital trophies. And the more trophies that you collected would then unlock experiences that supporters could earn at the end of the season. So when we finished our first full season with these digital collectibles, we said to those members that had unlocked all of the trophies, they were invited to an exclusive screening of our Arsenal/Amazon Prime documentary called All or Nothing. And they got to see the first 2 episodes before they were aired to the rest of the world. So it was a really nice opportunity to make those supporters feel rewarded by the club and shown or kind of given back for their loyalty and coming to all of our match days. And then what we've seen consistently season on season is particularly our season ticket holders will check in to see how their progress on collecting these digital collectibles has gone. And whilst they're in the loyalty platform, they'll then use that time to also then redeem points, explore what new rewards are available to them. So it kind of generates a bit of a halo effect with engagement with the rest of the program. So that's probably been our most successful strategy, is introducing that gamification function.
I love that. We are seeing more and more people want that special access to something. So it's like, it's not just the collectibles, it's getting early access to be able to watch the show. That's amazing. I'm sure you're seeing really good results from that. Thank you for sharing and for working with us through the tech to get you on camera.
Painful, but I got there.
Ludovica, do you want to have your say? Because I think you had some interesting comments. Just need to turn you off. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi. Can you repeat your question, please? Because I can hear you in the probably.
So the question was, what's one tool or platform or strategy that has improved your loyalty program the most?
Okay. Yes, yes, I answered by the launch of the gamified mobile application that was an evolution of a desktop loyalty platform. And this for me was the biggest challenge, but it works because what was the point was to simplify the UX and UI. So for the consumer with the mobile application, the
Mhm.
process and engagement was very smooth, very simple, very fluid, and people could interact better with the platform, with the mission that we launched. And so it was the biggest um, improvement for our program.
Mhm. That's great.
Which company are you from? Which brand?
I'm working for British American Tobacco for the new generation product for arms reduction. So with heated tobacco and electronic cigarettes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you. Joken, did you want to talk about yours? Because I know you said you couldn't see the buttons. I was wondering whether that was something you wanted to. I can make you a speaker. So I would do that. And if you want to pop in, then please feel free. I've allowed you to present now. It's great, all this little tech, isn't it? So if you want to, then let us know. So is there anyone else who feels like they want to share something? Oh, Joken's coming in now, which is great.
Yes, I had asked a question just about the redemption comment that was made as a key program element. Like, what's the focus on in terms of new redemption options, playing with CPP, or is it really about marketing? So, would love to hear more about that.
Over to you, Joken. Joken, we just need to hear you. If you don't want to be on camera, you just need to put your mic on. Can't quite hear you. Ludovica, did you want to say something else?
Sure, I can. No, the reason why I'm very interested. Sorry. I can hear my echo. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are echoing.
Okay, right now. So I'm very interested of this event also because my challenge and my company challenge is to improve the engagement rate and retention, because at the beginning, let's say that is easy, to get people involved. But the biggest challenge is the retention, and is to reduce the churn rate of our consumer. So I would like to see ideas, for example, or also new tools. So let's say best practice, no, and can share and reply in my market the same best case.
Thank you, Ludovica. Thank you. That's very, very good. I mean, I think we'll have you on stage more often if that's okay. Sharing. Joken, do you want to answer the question about the redemption? Laura, what did you want to ask Joken?
Yeah, now I think you can hear me. So now I can actually answer the question. But please repeat it one more time.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious when you had made the comment in here around redemption being a key part of the program. Which part of redemption are you focused on? Is it adding in more redemption options? Is it the marketing side of the house in terms of trying to get more people to redeem, or is it more playing with like cost per point? How are you looking at redemption?
I would say it's pretty much all of the above, because
Okay.
the one thing is just for us to think about redemption as a key enabler for continued engagement, because so this is AdiClub, so this is for Adidas. So trying to keep people engaged over a longer period of time, even if they're not purchasing, and leveraging also the power that we have as a brand. is a key enabler for us in the program, where we see with increased redemption rates, you also see higher frequency and higher CLTV coming with that. So it's targeting also different, I would say, segments of the program. You have really people with a lot of points that get money can't buy product, but then you also have a lot of with fewer points, but you still also want to give them options. So it's a bit of use it as a comms tool, but at the same time also being able to give access at a very low points. So keep the threshold very low, just to make sure that people also just, come back, check out the program, ideally download the app, and then come back and shop more from us. So it's really trying to get this engagement loop enabled through redemption.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. So has anyone else has got anything else they'd like to share with us? I mean, I know you've written some things in the chat, but if anyone wants to come onto the screen, I can make you a speaker and you can elaborate. Anything that you're burning to say that you know that other people should know about? Anything that's really made a difference? Or even a question from people who don't have a program that they know they've heard in the grapevine that this is the tool or the strategy that they need to use, and you want to ask some loyalty trailblazers on the in the event, because they may have some questions and they may have some answers for you. So it's up to you. Please use the chat. But there's one other question I wanted to ask before we wrap this up, and I'm just going to ask you all to have a think about this. And it's really more around what you think that if there's a hidden gem, if there's a hidden gem in the tools or strategies or technologies again that you think brands should be using more in their programs, is there something that you want to share? Maybe it's a technology, not what you've already used, but maybe there's one that you know about that you'll want to hear more about, that you're curious about. You've heard that it's great, but you're not sure whether you can get the investment, or not sure whether you're going to get the redemption rates or the activation rates that you want. Is there anything that you've used or that you've heard about that you think, yeah, that must be the silver bullet, or is it? So I'm going to leave that open to you, Laura, if you wanted to elaborate on that. I don't know whether I've just confused people, but I just wanted to get into the minds of you guys, what you do on a day-to-day basis to share with each other.
Yeah, a lot of times we actually will talk about the most underrated thing we think people have within loyalty programs is their data. So loyalty programs capture just unbelievable amounts of data, and how to use that across the enterprise and share with other departments to make marketing a little bit easier, to make acquisition a little bit easier, to truly understand your customers at a really detailed level. Like, loyalty programs can unlock that. And I think it's really underused these days in terms of like how people are taking it outside of the program.
So people are probably scratching their heads thinking, what is that hidden gem? What haven't I got? What does Becky say?
Yep. AI, we hear a lot about how people are starting to think about how AI can come in, if it's for agents or chatbots, or even just modeling the data to be able to enable personalization at scale.
Excellent. AI agents, yeah. Fabulous. Anyone else think there's another hidden gem that we're not using that brands should be? Yeah. I thought AI might pop its head up.
Yeah.
Starting to use AI to pre-test assets and web content.
I love that.
Yeah,
we've been playing with AI in terms of the creative and how to do creative quicker, so that way we can get to more personalization. Sometimes it's a fail, sometimes it works pretty well.
Great. Well, actually, this leads really nicely into our next session, and we're going to make it more about Laura now, if that's okay. So so this was the loyalty tool swap, and I'm glad we got some people on screen to share their experiences. But it's time to hear Laura, and Laura brings quite an incredible number of years of expertise in loyalty data, right? And especially to drive enterprise growth. So she'll be sharing some valuable insights on how to activate data for sustainable growth through effective data activation and gamification. So I'm going to leave the stage to Laura now. Laura's got some slides to present. If you've got any questions for Laura, can you please pop them in the Q&A rather than the chat, just to separate it so we can see and Laura can follow those. And Laura, pick them up as you go along or answer them at the end if there are any. But I'm going to turn my camera off now, my mic. I'm going to leave it to Laura. Laura's going to present some things. So for the next 20 minutes, you'll be with Laura. And then after that, we'll go straight into the webinar. And then after that, you can all have a toilet break. Aren't you lucky? So I'm going to disappear and I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
And you can see my screen, correct? Hopefully everybody can see it. I will jump in then. So I'm going to talk a little bit about zero-party data and like harnessing the power of that. And I was excited to see in the chat so many people talked about gamification and how they're using that. And I think that's like an amazing way to unlock zero-party data. So we're gonna dive into that and talk about it a little bit. But just to step in, like my job really at the end of the day is to understand people from a strategy perspective. And to understand people, we're really trying to understand a little bit of like what's making people shop, what's making people travel more, what's making people pull out their credit card and use it a little bit more. Why are people doing that? So that way we can, of course, get them to do it more often. And that's really within a lot of our loyalty programs, what we're all trying to drive towards. We saw some of everybody say about metrics, it's active members, it's about the customer lifetime value. And of course, that all comes down to those different transactions and getting people to do that more often, but also really thinking about some of the behavioral stuff. So trying to make sure we're getting people to download and use the app, trying to make sure that we're getting people to engage with the brand in interesting ways, which we heard people talk about earlier with the events. So it's really thinking about all those different elements. And that really does come down to data and making sure we're looking at the data and understanding it so we can truly understand our members and our customers. And in a lot of what we talk about when we talk about zero-party data, what zero-party data really does is give us like the why. We really want to have some more context around why people are doing things. And that's really because it drives into our data. So if we think about somebody as purchasing boots or shoes, for an example, like, wouldn't it be great if we knew if that was for themselves or if it was a gift? Because if it's for somebody else, then we can't really assume that we know somebody is into hiking or the size of the shoes they wear if it wasn't for them. So really making sure we can understand that and we can capture that kind of information through zero-party data. And then when we think about booking a hotel room, so when somebody's traveling, it's like if we could know if that was a family trip or something for a girlfriend's weekend, we would change the way that we talk to people before they came in and had that trip and that vacation. We would be offering them different amenities. We would be offering different excursions if we knew why they were taking that trip. So how do we get into understanding that? Or somebody's opening a savings account if you're in the FI space. Are you really opening that savings account because you're doing some retirement planning, or is it because you're looking to purchase a new vehicle? Again, that data really helps us enable better personalization and marketing to our consumers. And so we really want to make sure we can get to that why as quickly as possible. And really, because we think about zero-party data has 3 different dimensions to it, we're really trying to get to that more static information of like their identity, who they are, what their family looks like, their location. This is a lot of data that we're always asking our customers to provide and give us that information. And then we're trying to understand their inclinations. What do they like? What do they dislike? What are their interests? And then their intent, which is that future kind of behaviors and motivations. So when I think about this a little bit about like just when I go grocery shopping, wouldn't the retailer really like to know that my family includes 7 different people. I have 3 nephews that live with us part-time. I have a stepdaughter. I have lots of people that are coming in and out of my house, but to understand my family dynamic, obviously where I'm located, but what do I like? They might see in my shopping, because I have such a diverse household, that like, what do they really like? But I have food allergies. And so understanding that's going to really help understanding preferences in terms of the types of things that I like. So if it's like, hey, I'm really going to try to get more into cooking whole foods, and knowing that as a preference, they're going to really give me maybe recipes that align to that. So really thinking about those future, like, how do I get Laura back in to shop again? It's aligning to those preferences and likes and dislikes, aligning again to what my identity is and what my household looks like. So just powerful ways that we can unlock data from capturing zero-party data. And so we definitely want more of it. It's something we talk a lot about when we are building loyalty program strategies. It's designing a program, it's designing a marketing campaign to really think about how we capture that data, so that way we can create more personalized experiences, because we want to get to that higher engagement. And of course, at the end of the day, increase customer lifetime value. So these are the things that are the underpinning of like why we want to be able to collect that type of data. And oftentimes we find that our clients are collecting almost too much data, that they're like, I'm going to go and somebody's onboarding to my brand, I'm going to ask them 50 different things. But really we sit back and we go, if you can only get one data point to achieve your business goals, what would that look like? Just one, and it is a good push. And so we do some work with Victoria's Secret, and their big data point that they want is to know if you have a special event in the next year. Is there a wedding? Is there a homecoming? Is there a graduation? Any special events really help them from a marketing perspective. But I have a friend that does Cabby, which is a women's clothing line, and she sells it. And she's like, the number one data point that I would want to get is when women get their bonuses at work. She's like, I sell so much more product after women get their bonus, because they want to treat themselves. There's not very often, they don't treat themselves very often, but they are like, when that happens, she's like, I sell so much more. So we had conversations about like, how impactful would that information be? Like, if you got that, what would that look like? And she's like, I sell so much more once somebody knows. I just don't know when people are getting them. So her and I sat down and we talked a little bit about, what would it take to get that information? And so when she's onboarding a new customer, she's actually asking for like, hey, when do you like to spoil yourself? And do you like to do that at the holidays, for your birthday, after you get a bonus? She's asking these different questions to get it out in a relationship type of manner. So that way she can change her marketing cadence to her different customer base based on knowing the type of information that she's going after. And so I have a really fun analogy when I talk about zero-party data, and it really comes down to the fact that I always tell people my superpower is giving gifts. I am a self-proclaimed, I give the best gifts out there. And that's because I really do it in a way where I'm capturing zero-party data on my friends and family all year long. I have on my phone, I have a notes where it's called gift giving. And in it, I have different family members, and I am collecting data points all the time about needs and wants, preferences, pain points they have, some personal information about them, and then the types of experiences they like. I am constantly taking notes. I'm asking questions because I want to be the best gift giver. And this is a picture of a gift that I gave one of my friends, where it's a favorite things bag, and you can pick 4 words and they put it on a canvas bag. It is $15, super cheap, and it is highly personal. And I have given it to so many different friends, and they're always like, oh my gosh, you know me so well. I take it everywhere with me. But it's because I'm collecting that data, truly understanding who they are, to give those types of gifts. And some other examples are, data on preferences. I have a friend that loves Christmas, loves the holidays, and she also loves making craft cocktails. So I found these ice cubes that you can make that look like an ornament. And again, because I know her and know the things that she likes, I was able to give her this great gift. And then the one on pain points is really about my mother-in-law. We have a place up north in Michigan on a lake, and my mother-in-law stopped kind of going out to the campfire. And we were like, why isn't she at the campfire anymore? This used to be her favorite thing to do in the evening, and she's stopping that. And so I talked to her about it. I was like, why aren't you coming out there anymore? And she's like, it's just my back. It's so cold. I just don't enjoy it anymore. She's like, the front's great because the fire's in front of you. And so I found these heated campfire chairs so that way she could have her back be warm while she's out there. And so now she's back at the fire with us. But when you think about it, I saw a change in her behavior. I took the time to understand what that was about, and then came up with a solution. So when we think about how that could be with our customers and we see changes in their behavior, understanding why and how we can pivot from that is really important. So a fun way to think about it. And so, like, really what I consider my keys to success when I think about gift giving, and oftentimes when I talk about this with clients, I make people feel guilty because they're like, I'm a terrible gift giver. And I'm like, well, you don't have to be. You can really just be a little bit more intentional about collecting data and understanding the people that you want to buy gifts for. So when you get to those birthdays and holidays, it doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, what am I going to get them? You have a notes tab with all sorts of really good information. But really, when we think about the keys to success in any of this, it's really establishing goals. Like, my goal is to be the person that when they open the present, they're like, oh my gosh, you know me so well. How did you think about this? This is crazy. I mentioned it once and now you have it. So it's really establishing the goals that I want. And I've identified the data that I need. So I know the type of information that I like to get on people to really figure out what is going to give me the best gifts. So when we think about that from a business perspective, if we establish our goals, understand what our KPIs are, identify our data that we need to achieve those, and then making sure that we're using that data, activating it to really deliver the value and benefits that consumers are expecting. So a really fun, simple way to think about it when it comes to data. And really, when we talk about it, we talk so much about gamification. And gamification, we believe, is really the best way to capture zero-party data. So I was excited to see so many people talk about it. But I would ask, as you're building out your gamification strategy, are you doing it in a way where you're really thinking about how you can capture data through that to help activate different experiences for our customers? And we also know that gamification is somewhat of a polarizing word. Sometimes people are like, I love gamification, and other people say they hate it, but we often joke about it. We're like, okay, you can call it gamification, you can call it interactive experiences. It's all rooted in game science at the end of the day. At Kobe, we have a couple of PhDs that are about behavioral science on staff, and we really dive into those elements when we're designing this type of work, but really thinking about the consumer behavioral science side that you want to bring to the table. We really think about this as an experience design. You're designing an experience for your customers and how you bring that to life. Sometimes we joke the right word is edutainment, because we use a lot of gamification techniques to educate people in an entertaining way. So a fun combination of those words. But at the end of the day, the big thing that we like to say is it's really about creating a zero-party data solution and making sure that you're being thoughtful about how you're doing that. So when we think a little bit about a zero-party data solution, what does that really mean? It really means you need a strategy and you need technology to enable it. And it's everything about it is surrounding in data. So when we think about the strategy side of the house, it's really about setting those goals. It's identifying data gaps. It's coming up with the collection plan. It's building out the journey of how you're going to get that. And of course, all rooted in a business case of making sure that it's worth it to do that work, and then activating that. And then, of course, you need the technology to enable it. So those user-friendly experiences. It's figuring out the data ingestion all the way through normalization. it's having that actual gamification platform. Sometimes we think it's just a gamification platform, but there's so many things around it. And then, of course, you need that ongoing measurement. And then we really think about the last one here, the segment anomaly detection, is really getting into ML, and really getting into like those first examples I talked a little bit about around the shopping. When somebody's buying boots, if you know I'm usually a size 9 and you see that, then all of a sudden you see data points that are showing shopping for a size 6. That isn't to say the 6 should overwrite the 9, still a 9, but to say that Laura's doing something else, she's shopping for something else. So pulling out those anomalies to make sure we're keeping our data in a really good place. So just making sure we think about all of those different pieces when we're thinking about zero-party data. And then when we talked a little bit, I'll dive into just like thinking about creating a data roadmap for zero-party data. We think about everything within the loyalty is a journey, of course, and I'm sure everybody else does too. And we go anything from like attract and acquire all the way through. We want to grow and engage people. But if we start seeing people that are churning and are stopping, it's like, how do we reconnect and reactivate them along the journey? And the way that we really like to think about this a little bit is like the information boundary theory. And I don't know if anybody is familiar with it, but the way that I like to talk about it is a little bit is if I was at my doctor's office and they asked me what my blood pressure was, I would have no problem telling my doctor. That information feels right to give in that setting, and that boundary feels good. But if I checked into a hotel and they said, "What was your blood pressure?" I probably wouldn't give them that information. That feels wrong. So that's because the boundaries of that relationship are different, of course, than your doctor. And so when we think about the information boundary theory, we have to really think about where are you at in the journey with that customer, and are you asking them questions that are relevant and make sense? We talk always a little bit about this too, in terms of like a dating. When you're dating, you don't ask a million questions day one, even though you might want to. You don't tell everything about yourself day one. You space that out as you're building that relationship. So think about that and your customers is, again, you don't want to ask 50 questions when you're onboarding somebody. You might want to ask a couple. And then when you're in that grow and engage where they're working, how can we get some more information out of them along the way? So just something to think about as you're building out those roadmaps around how you're going to capture zero-party data. And we think about this in each of these different phases. There's different ways to capture that type of information, and understanding the behavioral science behind it, the phase people are in, the mindset they are in each of these different groups really helps you design what kind of gamification you should be using at each of these different phases. So when you're in that attract and acquire, a lot of times people like to understand the goals they're going to be at. What are the tiers? How do I get to the next one? How do I unlock being able to watch that series on Amazon Prime before anybody else? So what's the goal and how do I get there? When you're in the belong phase, people want that social proof. So how do you give them the ability to share things on social media really easily, so that way they can get that social proof that they're looking for because they're being an advocate of your brand? And then when we get into like reactivate, we really think about like that loss aversion. So you have something, you're going to lose it. How do we make sure you keep it? And so really thinking about how to play into those behavioral science components in each of these different phases, again, to make sure that we're staying within that kind of information boundary theory. We're asking the right things, but we're also thinking about the mindset of our customers at each of these different phases. And so within that can mean a lot of different things. So currently a lot of people will say, oh, do I have to start an entirely new marketing campaign around gamification, or zero-party data collection? And we're like, you don't. You're doing a lot of things currently today. You could just ask one more question. So it could be something within the welcome email that you're asking just one question to capture that information. If it's the transactional survey you just purchased, you can just ask like a little bit about how that went so you can capture that information. There's offers then there where you can kind of capture that information in terms of what they liked and didn't like. But there's all sorts of possibilities in terms of the types of techniques. And we get this question a lot in terms of like, well, what's the best experience to have? And we always say it comes down to the goals that you're trying to achieve. So making sure we know what that is, making sure we're capturing the right types of data points. And there's so many ways to do that. If it's through interactive quizzes, if it's through what we call progressive profiling. So identifying up front the 10 different elements we want to get on a consumer and doing that over time to fill out that profile. If it's having member panels, which is such a great way to take your best customers and ask them their opinion. It's unbelievable how many people want to share and give that back to the brands that they really care about. So being really careful about how we engage people, what makes the most sense, and bringing that forward. And so I'm just I know I only have a couple more minutes, but really wanted to highlight a couple of things that we've done for one of our clients, which is AMC Theaters. They really wanted to understand more about their customers during onboarding. So that way, really early. So they really wanted to know why people, what benefits they were most excited to take advantage of as they were onboarding into it, because they were going to use this data for further marketing. So if they saw people join but not coming into the theaters, they were going to be like, okay, I really need to talk about Discount Tuesdays. I really need to talk about the fees depending on what people talked about. So really using that initial data to make sure if somebody was going into churn or we just started to slowly see them disengage, that we knew what would be top of mind to bring them back in. And then we did some work around really thinking about, like, we go back to my gift giving story at the beginning, is to say, like, how do we enable our clients to be able to give gifts? So when it's around Mother's Day, it's like, who are you shopping for? Well, how would you spoil her? Again, you're getting all that information so you can support future gift giving opportunities when it comes to holidays, birthdays, all that kind of good stuff. Because what's a better show of advocacy is somebody buying your product for somebody else. And again, all of this is really to get that zero party data, to bring it in, because we want to really enable it from like your overall loyalty strategy to help build out better customer journeys, to enable more personalization within your CRM. So going back to, I had talked earlier about data and unlocking it. This is a great example of zero party data and unlocking it. It can help with your partnerships. So many loyalty programs these days are adding different partnerships, but how do you know the right one? If you understand your customers at a detailed level, you can make sure that you can go after the right partnerships for your brand. It can help with your product roadmap, so where you're spending your money from a technology standpoint. And last, which is one of my favorite examples, is really with like merchant negotiations. So a lot of our clients have a merchant team that they have to work with, and for AMC Theaters, they have like Coca-Cola and Nestle and the different vendors that are bringing in food and beverage, and they use the data that they're collecting to really negotiate deals with those different merchants because they know and they have so much customer preference data. So just another fun example of how to use the zero party data to really support more enterprise value. So really, just to kind of wrap it up, hopefully this gave you some things to think about, especially when so many people are working on gamification, which I saw is to really think about within that, how you're creating a zero party data roadmap based on your business goals. Really test and learn different collection methods tied to those behavioral motivations. And last, like if you're collecting zero party data, please, we always say don't waste it. We don't want data waste. We want to make sure that you're collecting it, not just to have it, but to use it to build more personalized experiences along the way. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Very insightful. Behavioral science, it's so critical to loyalty solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
To understand your customers first, and then catching them at the right time and capturing that emotional psychology too, and then turning all that into a data roadmap and using it intelligently. Seems simple.
Yeah. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, and we'll often joke with people. We'll say, well, we're not really getting into like gamification or something like that. And I'm like, well, a loyalty program at its core is a gamified experience with tiers and points and everything that way. I mean, that's really what's happening. So we're all doing it already.
We are. I hope you all found that insightful too. I know there was a few emojis that went up there. No one's put any questions in the chat yet or the Q&A. However, obviously Laura is still around doing the networking. So if whatever group you're in, if Laura wants to, if you want to ask Laura any questions, then do so there. So thank you, Laura, for that. But you can't go away. You can't go too far away, unfortunately, because our next session is, it's our webinar. So. So launching a new loyalty program or transforming an old one is a monumental task, as probably Emma and Becky and Robert are going to tell us all about now. But what happens when the confetti settles? That's the question. So we're going to speak with Emma Collins from Poundland and Becky Farrer from Wagamama and Robert van der Zouen from Shell Benelux. Well, I'm a bit echoey, maybe that's me. All of them have either recently launched a program or transformed one or changed one. So just for the next sort of 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to disappear again. Laura's going to throw in some questions, but they'll be diving into what worked and what didn't, and those key milestones and challenges that they've tackled. And also, most importantly, how they've sustained momentum 6 months post-launch, if they're that far ahead. Not sure whether Robert is that far ahead, but still, there's still plans. You've got to keep the momentum going. So I'm going to leave you now, and I hope you all enjoy this. Some of you came to the UK London meeting a couple of weeks ago, would have already met Emma and Becky and heard their amazing stories. But I'll leave you to Laura, and I'll come back in about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on questions.
Perfect. All right, I thought we could start with just some introductions. If each of you could go introduce yourselves, where you work, and a little bit about the program that you're working on, just to create a really good foundation for everybody. So Becky, you're the first box for me. So do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Becky Farrer. I am the Digital and Loyalty Director at Wagamama, which is a restaurant brand in the UK, also in the US and globally as well. And my role is to look after the digital experience that we give our guests. So I own customer data, CRM, and our loyalty proposition, Soul Club, which we launched last July, and I'm going to be talking about today. So Soul Club is an app-led platform where essentially visit Wagamama to earn free food and unlock more out of your brand experience. But it's all about our way of thanking our guests using our language, which is all about food, unsurprisingly.
I love that. I love that. Do they do breakfast? Because that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, in our airport sites, we do breakfast, yes.
Awesome. All right, Robert.
Yeah, thanks for asking or inviting me for today's meeting. So I'm the head of loyalty, CRM, and mobile payment for Shell. So for the markets of the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France, I'm responsible for really bringing a great loyalty program that enhances everyone's journey and visiting the Shell sites there. I think we've got a quite unique setup because big part of our loyalty program is being part of a coalition. So in Netherlands, we're working with air miles instead of points, but basically making the best of our collaboration there while still trying to drive brand preference and a great experience on all our sites.
That's great. That's always the question with coalitions. Like, how do we make sure our brand stays top of mind when you're part of something bigger?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Emma. Last but not least.
Morning, everyone. So I'm Emma Collins. I work for quite a well-known high street brand in the UK called Poundland, which was launched in 1990, where everything was indeed a pound. And our biggest struggle at the moment is helping our customers realise that inflation has happened and not everything is a pound, and what was a pound in 1990 is now £2.42. So we have to work very, very hard to reinforce that value message. But yes, so I head up digital loyalty and engagement at Poundland. We launched our loyalty program in October of last year, which took 18 months to 2 years to launch. And our proposition is effectively around save, earn, play. So our customers will receive a number of offers that are in app. They can collect points along the way. And once they reach a certain threshold with their points, they receive digital vouchers back in their app to spend back with us.
That's great. Thank you guys all for the overview. Just so we thought it would be helpful to set the stage so everybody knew when you answer questions a little bit of where you're coming from. So thank you for that. Emma, I'll send this one to you just because of how you commented about the time frame from the project. And so when you really think about from when you first kind of started this until now, a little bit of like, what's kind of some of your biggest like aha moments where you're like, oh, I wish I would have known that sooner?
Well, I'd probably start by saying I wish I'd attended a few more of these. Certainly, yeah, certainly the insights gathered from other people going through it, I think I'd have felt a lot more at home, perhaps.
Yeah.
But the aha moment, as opposed to is the test and learn that we did prior to launching nationwide in the UK. I think I said on stage a few weeks ago, it was truly valuable to launch in different pocketed regions and really sort of understand the depth of the data and what that was telling us, and therefore informing us what would work and what perhaps wouldn't work when we launched nationally.
Yep, that's great. That's great. Robert, did you have the opportunity to do any kind of testing? I know so many clients have, they can do that. And some are like, there's no way I'm an all or nothing. There's no way I can just test this in some regions. How did you approach it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like to build things from consumer insights and not like sitting in the office and thinking about the best ideas possible and then just implementing them straight away. So first step for us to revamp our program was indeed to do focus groups. So we invited all different customer types over for a drink and a chat. And did some structured and unstructured interviews with them. And I think a lot of aha moments came from that because we became well prepared, right? We created all those beautiful assets with marketing slogans, the best offers available, etc. And we just scrutinized there, basically saying, yeah, just remove the marketing slogans. What do I need to do? What will I get back in return? Just put in the product, like highlighting what I will be getting afterwards, and be honest about it. Because, for instance, we put in there a lot of images about fresh sandwiches that we sell on site, and actually they didn't believe us. They just said, you've just this soggy sandwiches, pre-packed, not really nice stuff laying around there. So even just the brand and product awareness was lacking to even build something on top of. So a lot of key insights came from that part. And I think on top, during the development of a program, I think another aha moment for me was that relationships are really key. It's not just with our consumers, but also internally connecting with different departments, really building your story and getting everyone to advocate and be enthusiastic about the things that you're doing, and really moving away from product focus to consumer focus, I think was really something that I already knew, but only realized during the journey really how important it actually was for our key success there.
Yeah, that's really insightful. I love the story about the sandwiches because it is interesting when people, they want transparency. They want to have it be really easy and simple. And I think some of that can be like build that relationship, and you can like talk about the sandwiches later, like, get somebody in, get them engaged, and do that at the right time. So that's really helpful. Rebecca, do you have a aha moment that you want to share?
Yeah, I think for me, I think I'm very much aligned with what Emma and Robert were saying, but I think the other aha moment, which it seems so obvious now, But looking back, I think we didn't focus enough on the importance of our teams in restaurants and the critical role that they would play in keeping this alive and making this work. Because I think sometimes we can get caught up in our own bubbles and think actually the marketing will do the job for us. But actually, it is the element that's been so critical. We've had to pivot strategy a little bit. Is really, I guess, keeping our teams engaged. Everyone's very much focused on launch, and we had a big competition over the first quarter of launch, where our restaurant teams, for the most sign-ups they got in restaurants, they were in the holidays, etc. But getting those guys to really understand what's in it for them and keeping them engaged day in, day out is critical now to where we are, because we can't keep the marketing machine going forever. There's always going to be new things to talk about. And I think that's the piece that I probably really underestimated, not just myself, but the entire business, about the importance of the teams in the restaurants each day.
Mm-hmm. And I think more and more people are craving like that human connection these days, and so that's who can create that for you, and they're the only ones that can. And for most brands, that's like a hard thing to figure out, because there's always a lot of turnover with employees as well. And so it's like, how do you keep that engagement going with your front line? So.
Yeah, I concur with what Becky said. For launch, for us, it was the new toy. And everybody was so excited about it, and everything that we'd gathered through our trials, everybody wanted a piece of it, and kept it going in the first few months. But it's now that's the tough bit. It's now it's about picking it up and keeping driving and making sure that every colleague, whatever level they've got, they can grab hold of a KPI and drive it. And it's really important that managers and leaders are driving that and, cascading that down to whoever's, at the front line, because it needs engagement from top to bottom.
That's really insightful. Something I know a few people had put in the chat at the beginning that they're just starting their journey to creating a loyalty program. So these are, hopefully they're taking good notes, because that's really helpful.
Don't run out of steam.
Yeah.
It's relentless.
That's so
I think
funny.
I was so focused on giving birth to the baby. I think, and I think when you're in that position, I think I found I was left alone quite a lot. We had a lot of autonomy to develop this, but also people can't tend to see things until they're there. So we were making decisions day in, day out in the run up to launch, and then as soon as it's launched and everyone can see it, then oh my goodness, the opinions, and that really comes on. So I think I had really underestimated that the eyes on it after you launch.
And when you think about first launching and looking at your KPIs and what defines success at launch versus now where you're at 6 months later, has anything changed? What was success at that point of time versus now? And do you want to start, Rebecca or Becky? Sorry, I was going to
call you. Yeah, no, you call Becky. Broadly, our success measures are the same. So we have a relatively low frequency as a restaurant brand, ultimately it was about building a solid member base so that we can really use that. It was about driving growth in frequency and engaged members. So that remains the same. I think what has pivoted is that for the first 5 months, we launched in July, it was all about signups. I think the entire business was focused on signups, and every single day I had the exec team asking me, where are we today? So whereas now, actually where it is now is about retention and nudging one more visit into the restaurants. So that's, I guess, that shift, but the overall business strategy and the broad sort of success measures haven't changed. It's just that focus on where we're putting, I guess, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3.
Perfect. Robert, how about you for your program?
Yeah, for me, it's a bit of a similar story in a way. So we are moving from a legacy program into a Shell-owned program, basically moving away from the program that was run by Air Miles, our coalition partner, really moving it in-house. So I think for us, especially during the first stage, it was really about, it was twofold. One was migrating our legacy customer base over into the new program, while simultaneously kicking off a fierce acquisition campaign and really driving registrations, app downloads, and installs, really getting the base to grow. But I think like all stakeholders are quite impatient. It's all nice and all to have all those registrations flowing in, but how successful are we then in driving the performance afterwards and getting the engagement going? So we're just 3 months in with the new program, but already we are moving the emphasis more towards the engagement part instead of just the acquisition, and trying to drive them both in parallel.
That's great. That's great. And I'm sure with migrating, it's always really interesting too, that versus starting something new, because when you're migrating, you have to really look at kind of your best customers that were in your old program. How are they looking in the new program, and hopefully not panicking as anything, if there's any kind of drop in any of the KPIs right away.
No, fully. It was also quite interesting because those two bases that we have, basically people that are more Shell focused and people that were already part of the legacy AirMiles program, which is a coalition program, are really different types of people. So for instance, one of the key findings that we had from our focus groups was that if we communicate about points, basically communicating about points is most effective to the AirMiles base, because they really like to see their balance increase and save up for something. Well, the Shell base is more focused about the site visits and just having like this instant reward going really quickly. And they really want to know and understand the value instead of the points balance. So it's also catering to everyone's liking in a way, and adjusting the messaging accordingly.
Yeah. No, it's really great insights to capture during your focus groups to make sure you're ready for launch. That's really good feedback. Emma, how about you? How are your metrics looking from when you launched versus 6 months later? Anything that you're measuring differently, or your focus has changed?
So as Becky said, our focus at launch was all about, well, it was downloads, and now it's active users. So I would highlight, make sure you're really clear with what you're tracking. Downloads is different to active users, and then when you get updates of your app, that kind of impacts your download rate as well. So be really clear when you're setting your KPIs. It really should be active users. Then we track something called swipe rate, we call it, and that is, I guess, the percentage of perks customers and their transactions over the total transactions. So that's telling me what proportion are loyalty members, how big their basket is. So we track ATV of those perks customers. And then the interesting thing that I had in the trial that I don't have now is, in the trial, I paired up every single trial store with 15, with a control group of 15 in England. So I was able to see, and the performance of those stores were very similar type of size, similar type of trajectory in terms of sales. And I was able to prove really easily that actually loyalty in those trial stores, there was an incremental uplift against those control group. Now I'm having to use different metrics to prove that, and prove the incrementality of loyalty, which is always a challenge.
Do you find that internally it is a challenge to prove to different stakeholders the value of loyalty? I see a lot of head nods already.
Yeah. I'd say, and many of you probably will be having this challenge. It's about demonstrating the value and the I guess the pound value attached to data, and how actually we would all probably advocate that needs to be quite central to the strategic development of business strategy. But time and time again, it's kind of seen as a bolt-on. And it is a slog trying to demonstrate its value and also get so we went through a business case process, which maybe if you're just starting out you might be in the middle of now, and that you could actually demonstrate it quite easily, but now it's about, okay, I want to reinvest because loyalty doesn't stand still. It shouldn't stand still. Propositions need to develop. The loyalty market moves on, and obviously the big players have gone through this probably for 30 years. Tesco's has had their loyalty program for 30 years. I'm in my first 6 months, and but yeah, trying to get continued investment to keep it moving it is a challenge.
Yeah, you need to keep it fresh for consumers, definitely. When you think about post-launch, have you encountered any, I guess, surprising customer behaviors? So anything that you were not expecting before, and now you're seeing that you're like, that's interesting. I see Rebecca nodding. Do you wanna chime in?
Yeah, for me, it was very much aligned to what we were just talking about with zero-party data. I think the piece I hadn't anticipated is how much our Soul Club members want to engage with us and want to give us additional information. And we ran some focus groups, and so we did a little bit of qual and qual research back in December, and we emailed out to all of our Soul Club members, and we had a 70% click-through rate on an email saying, "Do you want to be part of our research?"
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So I guess that was my big, wow moment. Is actually we've now got this really big base of customers, of which there are a large percentage of them that actively want to be more engaged and involved with the brand, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that is great. I mean, I always think that's like where consumers really feel like emotionally tied to a brand if they're willing to like give feedback, because they really want to make it better, because at the end of the day, they're going to benefit from it. So that's really exciting. How about Robert? Anything for you in terms of something unexpected that has happened as you've gone through this transition?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were really focused on migrating our existing base, but actually the biggest surprise came for me from the acquisition piece, because I think we have quite a tough customer journey. You download the Shell app, and then you need to register as well with Air Miles to be able to earn points. So before, it took up to 10 minutes to do such a thing, which was really a big hurdle. And in the new app that we launched, we made it quite easy, but still it takes an additional 2 to 3 steps to do it. And actually, we are overperforming on that piece. So we see that way more people, like 300% more people, are connecting their Air Miles account or creating a new one in the new program, really want to be part of the full experience in a way, instead of just doing the Shell piece, which is quite easy to do. So this was typically something that I wasn't expecting before we got started with this.
And did it change anything that you're doing from like a marketing perspective, or how you're engaging consumers? Have you done any pivots, or you're like, we're just still watching it to see where we want to go with it?
We are still watching it, but really try to spend our marketing efforts and money as wise as possible. So we are constantly monitoring, like, do we need to increase the budget a bit to get even more out of this best practice that we are having? Or should we reallocate to solve any other key issues that we're seeing in our performance? So we're currently still watching and defining like what's the best next steps possible on these items.
That's great. That's great.
So and maybe just one more thing, which is quite easy for us to do, is that we are constantly testing the in-app copy for this. So also to move from downloads to registrations, to see, okay, what are the key drop-off points? Because we do see between downloads and creating an account with Shell, there's quite a significant drop-off there. Yep. So really seeing what makes them tick, what kind of carrot do we need to present to them to continue their journey in our app. I think that is key to really drive the performance along the way.
No, that's great. Going back to some comments I think Emma made earlier about test and learn. How do we just keep testing it and seeing where we go? Copy is such a great one to start with. That's good.
We're also really trying to foster that mindset. So within my team, and also including members from other teams, we are now setting up growth hacking sessions, really establishing for every month what kind of experiments would we like to try out, what kind of learnings are we seeking, and then really in a structured way perform those experiments, measure the outcome, and then define like the next experiments that we would like to do, or see if we can scale any experiment to a best practice that we can implement in a more broader sense.
Yeah. That is hopefully, again, for those that are starting this off new, really good notes for people to think about. And anybody that's in a established program that's really looking to optimize just small things. You don't have to relaunch, but even just small tests, that's great advice. Emma, do you have, and you have there's a couple questions coming in. So first, Emma, do you want to talk about anything that that you found that was surprising from customer behavior? And then you have a question in the chat about defining active users. How do you define it? But you can do that second.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess it maybe not surprising, but when you're launching a loyalty program, you're opening up a conversation with your customer, and you need to listen to them. And I suppose for us Poundland customers, I suppose I underestimated how passionate they are, and they will tell me when they're not happy. So it's about listening to them, looking at your ratings, listening to the comments that they put. Don't underestimate your support and maintenance package. Make sure that those little niggles are sorted quickly, because customers will tell you if they're having technical problems and they don't like it. Just keep listening, I'd say.
That's a great one. I mean, obviously it's very easy for consumers to give feedback these days with social media and reviews and all that kind of goodness, which can be, it's another source of data. And if they're telling you, there's something there to listen to. So that's helpful.
The biggest surprise, I guess, for me is how putting Pringles on my app for £1, we sold out within 2 days.
That's so funny. Well, that is a surprising thing to learn. You're like, didn't think that would happen.
No, it's a good surprise.
Yeah.
In terms of active users,
how do you define it?
It's the number of, so within a time frame, how many times a customer has engaged with your app.
And you're doing it based on the app usage is how you're defining.
Sorry?
You're using app usage?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily has to be a transaction?
No.
Okay.
No. We're measuring it slightly differently. I'm looking at what we call commercially active. So this is, I guess, the percentage of our members who have gone into a restaurant and transacted, because you have to earn your stamp, you have to have paid on the app. So that's, I guess, my measurement for our active.
My measurement for that is swipe rate.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them both at the same time.
Yeah, we're also tracking both, basically seeing what's the app engagement, as is our main touch point, but also because our legacy program, you could really have those plastic cards still that you could actually swipe or scan. We're really tracking the transaction level as well to see basically what's the total picture of our customer behavior there.
That's great. I'm going to dive into a couple other questions that were in the Q&A. There was one just around how did you decide, work on the value proposition for your respective loyalty programs? Robert, you had mentioned, obviously, consumer insight, focus groups and things like that. Was there anything else from a process standpoint that you could give some advice to those that are kind of starting this journey in terms of what else you did to come up with that value proposition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was also a game changer in our project, because basically it started off as an IT project. Yeah, we need to move things in-house. Let's build our own shell program, and then let's see how things go. And quite early, we as a team said, yeah, but we really need to bring some value to our customers. It's not about launching the program. It's really about having this great mechanics and offers in there. So, of course, the focus groups were a big part of at least getting a feel for what works best, but we also put a lot of effort looking at data. So what kind of customers like what kind of products and how many do we sell of those? And can we really also internally get support to include those products into our loyalty program? Because quite typically they say, yeah, but those really successful products, if we include them, then we're just basically cannibalizing or giving away free money. So are we really up for it or not? And I think what really helped us on one end was really building the relationships internally, really to get to know their needs and how we can also contribute to the goals that the other departments have internally. But also there we try to test out quite early. So we just said, let's not really put it into the end state of the program, but let's do a pilot and really giving a fixed timeline or a fixed budget, and then trying to get some early results in, really help them to become more comfortable basically with the approach and seeing that we can actually deliver value from the loyalty program. And that made them more easy to really step up their game and start including more and more products in the end. So I think we had to look at both data, customer experience, but also the internal dynamics that made it into this total value proposition of what we could get support for and what we in the end would be able to land. And I think one of the key outcomes of that was also, and which is really adventurous, I must say, for Shell, is that we included fuel discounts there, because our focus groups quite clearly stated, yeah, all nice and well, we can have a free Coke or these kind of things, but actually I just want discounts. We are Dutchies, we like to save up for things. We like things to be free or for less money. So in the end, also our launch offer is really about fuel discounts, because that made them tick. And we made a very extensive business case for that to really prove or at least forecast what kind of uplift in volumes or return visits we would get off the back of it, to really say this is really something that can be self-funding in a way, but you need to look a bit broader besides the campaign on the total customer lifetime value to really prove that point.
No, that's really helpful. And I do think it always comes back to it's hard to get to that return on investment. And it's hard to get to that business case. And there's so many different inputs and there's so many other projects that the organization's doing. So it's like, how do you isolate down to like what loyalty is going to achieve? So, and it is great to have all the different stakeholders involved and kind of everybody buying in along the way. Becky, do you have anything to add in terms of like what you did to come up with the value proposition for the launch program?
And it's very much similar process in terms of, we brought in a consultancy company to support us on that journey, because we were not experts in loyalty. So that was we worked with TLC to kind of really help us to shape it. But I guess running customer focus groups and doing research was a critical part of that, but also starting with the data and what we did know about our brand frequency and where we needed to get to. And I think ultimately, yes, customers told us they wanted free stuff. So of course, so it was then that sort of juggling act, what's going to be appealing versus I guess what's going to deliver ROI. So it was very much a mix of all of those factors pulled together to try and establish something that we know worked for customers and worked internally and support us to drive revenue. So it's very much all of those different inputs and modeling coming together.
Absolutely. Emma, do you have anything you want to add on?
Well, I guess the market that we're in, it was looking at that market and remembering that customers have are used to the market. They've got lots and lots of apps on their phones, and they're already habitually using loyalty programs. So for us, it was looking at the market, what worked what we felt was working well in our space, and kind of landing ourselves right in the middle. And I guess the advice that I'd give here is your value proposition for us. It's three things: it's offers, discounts, it's building points, and it's gamification. And I see those three things as levers, and I can turn them up and I can turn them down. But our customers have an expectation of what value is to them. And if I turn down something, they're turned off.
Yeah.
So getting that balance, it is tricky, and we're having to look at it all the time and look at the loyalty proposition as we move forward within Poundland, and I need to make it a bit more commercially viable. So how am I going to turn those levers to keep the perception strong of value with the customer?
Yeah, we talk a lot about the fact that it's like a little bit of a scale. You have like what customers want, but what the business needs. And you're constantly playing this little game back and forth between the two. So completely understand. There is a question in the chat. You talked a little bit about the loyalty app and just the fact that there's a lot of like just saturation within the market at the moment of like, how had that impacted like your strategy in terms of like, how are you going to get your app to stand out in the marketplace?
Who was that to me?
Emma, yes, if you don't mind.
We had a lot of debate as to whether we had a card and an app. It didn't make commercial sense. We're trying to move forward progressively in the digital space, so we quickly decided it's going to be app only. In terms of how it stands out, I think it's, as I was saying before, every brand has one. So, but with Poundland, and we've had, there is some basics to what we've got, but now it's about keeping up with what everybody else is doing. So I'm looking at adding to wallet. I'm looking at improving gamification. I'm looking at personalization, and all of that comes with investment. So it's difficult. It's difficult to stand out. I guess in terms of how I launched it and how I got it to stand out when I launched it, we did some different things. I had very limited marketing budget, but I got a 1970s caravan and I turned it into Cafe Perks on the road. Took it to a load of community stuff attached to our foundation, got some nice PR, got the app on this morning. So we got some nice PR, but didn't really have to spend too much on that above the line advertising. That worked for the launch. Keeping it front of mind now is more of a challenge. So back to what Becky was saying, the use of your front of house the people in, I mean, for us and Becky, it's, we're in retail and we've got people on the front line, and not underestimating that they are your brand champions, and keeping engaging with them and reinforcing that the value that the loyalty program brings, it is a brand asset.
100%. Thank you for answering that question. We have one more question. I know we're down to just a few minutes left of you guys being in the hot seat, so we really appreciate it. There's a question just around the approach to driving more signups at the start of the program. Looking just for a little bit more insights. And so, Becky, do you want to start? Just anything that you can add to how you looked at just kind of getting that enrollment?
I think for us, it was also understanding the shape of where we were going to get the sign up. So we took advice, and we ultimately looked to see, the advice I was given was that we expect to see 40% of year one sign-ups to come in the first quarter, and then 20. So we kind of looked at the shape, and then really, if I'm honest, we threw everything at it. So all of our channels. So I guess we were on radio, we were out doing PR, we had all of our above the line media. The restaurants, as I said, that we pivoted then to really pushing the team. So every single channel and touch point that we had access to as a brand, we had a very large cohesive campaign that ran for 6 to 8 weeks to really launch this and get this off the ground. And that, I think, really worked for us. And then as we were then coming into what was our peak trading. So then, that's where the role of the restaurant, and naturally we had people in the restaurant. So it was about maximizing that, as Emma and I have just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one thing to add is that for the digital channels, what we're using is really a cost per registration as a leading KPI. So we're really trying to see what kind of channel brings the most valuable customers in, or the most amount of registration, and constantly monitoring and tweaking the budget to allocate it to the most effective channels along the way to increase the maximum amount of registrations that we can squeeze out of it.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Well, we are almost at time. Becky, you just had one more question come in. So if you don't mind, you had mentioned at the beginning that you have fairly low frequency. And the question was, what was the main feature of the program or app to increase your visits that you've been focused on?
Yeah, so for us, because we have relatively low frequency, as much of the UK hospitality industry, we developed our program to have 2 different levels. So it's about building that emotional connection also, and then in the transactional piece, so that they are equally as important within our loyalty proposition. So we have a stamp book, which essentially we gave everyone their first stamp free, and then we gave them a welcome offer. But ultimately, if you get 3 visits, 3 stamps, you get a free side, and 6 visits, you get a free main. So there's like this ongoing stamp book to get free food. But then on top of that, the more you visit, the more you unlock extra things for the brand. So we've really pushed, I guess, those extra experiences. So if you're a more frequent visitor, you get access to exclusive money can't buy events, regular competitions. And if you for our Uber loyal customers, it's about getting more back, like free merch. So for us, it was all about bringing those 2 sides together and building the emotional connection and I guess more of that transactional piece too. So you're getting a lot more out of it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much for trusting me to moderate this panel and talking about the evolution that you've been on. It's always such a journey, and I think there's always such great insights that we can all learn from each other as we've gone through it. A little bit of like, as you're starting out, I wish I would have known this sooner. So thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Wow, what a great webinar. I mean, I know we've already heard from Becky and Emma in London, which got some amazing response, and probably everybody wants to just download everything that's in your brains to them. So I really appreciate you coming to do this again, ladies, and Robert for joining this. And also Robert is going to present at our Amsterdam hub meeting in April. So you're all doing a double whammy for us, and we really, really do appreciate it. You have no idea. Our members have been very much engaged with your stories, and you've shared so many great lessons, and there's probably so much more we can keep asking and talking about. But for today, thank you so much. Thank you, Laura, for moderating. So you can now switch your mics and your cameras off. Thank you. But I would like everybody to stay where they are, because we are going to move into the peer-to-peer networking. So we're going to switch gears a little bit and dive into this. And this is where you can really connect with each other, and you can start speaking to different people and sharing more experiences and gather more practical advice that you might need. And obviously these people who really truly understand your challenges, right? So I'm going to switch the floor over in a second, and you'll see a screen full of tables and chairs, okay? And you'll be randomly assigned to a virtual table or a sofa where you can chat with other people. So if you'd like to move around and speak to different people, just all you've got to do is just double click on another table where you see other people sitting. And the way you can identify where other people are sitting is that you'll see little icons flashing. And the one that's flashing, I think, is the one that's actually speaking. But you'll see little icons of people's faces or emojis or avatars, if they've got one. If you can't see the whole screen in front of you, you can just use your zoom in and out, and you can move. If you actually hold your mouse down on the screen, you can move the screen around. It's very, very interactive like that. It's just in case you don't see the whole screen. We have some sofa and table ambassadors on hand to help start and steer the conversations and to keep things flowing. And one of them is Nick at Day Out with the Kids, so thank you. One's Joker and Raf at Adidas, and obviously Laura at Kobe. I know some of you are leaving now, so there might be just a few of you ready to do this networking. Ambassadors, if you realise you're on a table together, please move to a different table so you're not there together. And the ambassadors are just there to help the conversation start. And if anyone finds himself with a group without an ambassador, please volunteer to be one. And that really is just to start the conversation and get introductions going. There's probably is going to be about 3 or 4 of you per table. Anything more than that, you're very welcome to meet each other in different rooms, but I would advise you to stay on and network as much as you can. And once we move into the floor, I'll pop up the screen to help you with some questions and get your conversations going. So I'm now going to move into into the networking mode. You'll be randomly allocated. If there's 3 of you at a table, great. If there's 2, please move into another table that's got more of you. There's not going to be many of you because I can see many of you disappearing now because obviously you've got other things to do, but there might be 2 or 3 tables ready for networking. So I'm going to open up the floor and hopefully see you enjoy your conversations.